that stuff works, I'm happy to chat more about that. And I don't really want to talk about it anymore. It's probably the thing I'm most excited to move on from in 2020, if that tells you anything. The exciting part for me is that means that we get to move kind of forward with some of the growth and development that we've been talking about programmatically for quite a while. Stuff that we've kind of put on pause through fall semester is full go again, and combined with kind of the plan for the hope that we have kind of an end in sight on the COVID front. And I know we're going to talk more details about what our spring and summer plans look like, so I don't want to steal thunder there, but just, looking forward to a future where we are not having to be as limited in the way that we program and how we go about doing some things. So really excited for where we're headed there. On a more proximate front for us, there's two kind of big things that I wanted to spend some time talking about tonight. Number one is the Student Wellness Center. We are going to have an opportunity next week to have Steve Erickson, who is my boss and the director of our Rec Sports and Fitness program, come on, and he's going to do a presentation. I'm going to help with that presentation about what to expect with this new Student Wellness Center. For those of you who haven't been tracking on it, really briefly, what's happening is last spring, students voted to approve funding to kind of demolish the portion of Rec Sports that was damaged during the roof collapse in spring of 2019, and to rebuild the fitness center portion of things, as well as incorporate space for student health, student counseling, and the Office of Health Advancement. So kind of four main entities are going to live in that facility. And what I will say right now, because we're going to spend a whole hour kind of together for anybody who wants to join us, and I'm going to encourage you all to join us if you have time next Thursday night, and we'll send out the details, but it'll be from 6 to 7 p.m. via WebEx to join us and learn a ton about what's going on there. The big takeaways for us in the outdoor rec world is that we're going to be building a pretty phenomenal climbing wall. I think I'm going to be safe in saying that we're going to build something that's state of the art and pretty remarkable. We're talking about, if you were to imagine the linear footprint of our current climbing wall up at Rec Sports, it's around 80 feet if you were to go walk that kind of like in one straight line, roughly. We are going to, and that's just the bouldering kind of space. We are going to have a bouldering wall that's roughly 150 linear feet long, and a top roped climbing space that'll be approximately that same. So we're talking about essentially quadrupling the linear footprint of the wall, not to mention the fact that the top roping portion will be roughly 45 feet tall, include lead climbing and teaching terrain. So I'm really excited about what that climbing wall is shaping up to be. We're also going to have a bike and ski shop in that new facility that's going to be kind of state of the art. It's going to be something that what I keep telling folks is the goal is to make something that has never been seen on the college campus. The kind of facility that somebody who's a skier or a biker walks by and goes, whoa, like those are the tools and the training and the skills that I have access to here. That's awesome. And it's going to be front and center, just kind of like a showcase for outdoor rec. And then we're also going to have kind of a footprint in the facility from a classroom perspective. We're going to have a dedicated outdoor rec classroom there, as well as there's talk of slackline park and hammock zones and stuff like that. So tune in next Thursday. There will be more info on that. We're really excited about where that project is headed. Lucho is actually a really good person to ask questions of there. He's been a member of the Rec Sports Advisory Board, getting updates on the progress of that facility. And so if you have questions or you want feedback given, you're more than welcome to share with either of us, and we can give you some more info there. The other thing that I'm really excited about that is coming up quite quickly here is the MSU Day of Giving. And the Day of Giving, for those of you who weren't around last year or weren't tracking on this, is a day where MSU puts a really concerted effort into soliciting donations to help programs across campus. And so we were one of, I think, 25 or 28 programs that were chosen to participate. That Day of Giving, the project that we're focused on is to build an avalanche education, wilderness education yurt up near Crosscut. And so I'm going to share the the page. It went live today. And so we're going to be soliciting your help. One of the big ways that projects like this are successful is by having lots and lots of people share with their contacts how you can be helpful with procuring support for this project. And so we're going pretty ambitious at this. We're looking at building a 30-foot yurt out at Crosscut that we would use for our avalanche education program. We would be running most of our avalanche courses out of that for at least classroom and some of the field days. We would use it to teach wilderness medicine. The yurt would actually go to support Crosscut and some of the programming that they do during the weekdays when we aren't using it. So it's a collaborative effort. For those of you who've been around for a while, this has been a passion project for me. It's something I'm really excited to try to build and accomplish, and I think it's doable. Ultimately, a yurt like this is going to cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000, and so that's our goal. That's what we're going to start with. Anything that we raise beyond that is going to go towards creating a scholarship endowment for avalanche and wilderness medicine education. It's a really good cause. The thing that we need your help with is to become an ambassador, and I'm going to follow up this meeting with more instructions on how to pull that off. But basically, being an ambassador for the program is really easy. You sign up via the link that you can see right here on my screen. It says ambassadors. Once you've signed up there, you get a full toolkit and profile, and then you share that information with your network. So friends, family, Facebook, Instagram. I don't know if it would work on Snapchat or TikTok. Those are things I don't understand because, as Lucho pointed out, I was around at the Treaty of Versailles in 1918. So I'm too old to understand Snapchat. But I think the projects that were successful last year were the ones that had the most student support and engagement broadly. And so we're going to be reaching out to the Crosscut community. We're going to be reaching out to the avalanche education community, snow sports community. And what we're suspicious of is that if we can recruit all of y'all as student members of this program and ambassadors for this, we can hit that lofty goal. There's some really cool ways that they incentivize giving. There's challenges and stuff like that. So stay tuned. There's going to be more information coming on that. This is going to be happening on February 11th through the 12th. So it's 29 hours of giving that we're going to be aiming for. And pretty pumped about that project. So those are kind of the two big things that I wanted to share program updates wise. Are there any questions for me on either of those? And then Dan and Christine, is there anything else I was supposed to talk about that I've forgotten, which is likely?
Yeah, do you want to hit on North Dome?
North Dome Fitness Center? Oh, yeah. Okay, so part of the wellness center, the student wellness facility, is we are going to be moving out of the current rec center, the mothership up the hill, as I sometimes like to call it, starting in May. So once the semester is over. So in the month of May, we'll probably be actively moving out of that facility and into temporary the North Dome, which if you've not been in there is a big bubble. I'm not supposed to call it a bubble because bubbles pop, kind of like roofs collapse, but it is a bubble. It's got 4 basketball courts worth of space, and ultimately what's going to be happening there is there's going to be approximately 2 courts that are converted to fitness floor. So imagine treadmills, weights, selectorized lifting machines, that sort of stuff, stationary bikes. It will also include two basketball courts will remain basketball courts for drop and rec. And then we're going to end up with 2 temporary climbing walls as of right now. And when I say 2, Entrepre, which is a climbing wall manufacturer, makes these standalone units that they use for like festivals and stuff like that. And they can be delivered on the back of a flatbed truck. They're counterweighted with ballast. They're 20 feet wide and 15 feet tall. There's one angle that's moderate and one that's a little more overhanging. We're going to end up with 2 of those. We'll have basically about half of the terrain, maybe a little less than that realistically, of what we have for our current bouldering wall in that North Dome Fitness Center. So one of the big questions has been, well, what do we do with our climbing program during the shutdown? How do we kind of keep that nucleus alive? How do we make sure that we have something to plant a viable seed from and grow the climbing program when we go from almost no facility to this massive brand new state of the art facility. And my argument has consistently been that we need to be able to consistently teach setting. It'll allow us to continue to teach some of our technical skill courses by adding anchors to those walls. It'll allow our climbing community on campus to exist, and be able to have folks climbing. So it's not going to be perfect. It's by no means the greatest solution, but it is better than no solution. And so I'm pretty excited about that. Ultimately, we're looking at a time frame of moving out and construction beginning this spring, early summer of 21, and then tentatively construction being completed in the spring of 23 on this new facility and opening in the spring of 23. And so, for some of you, you might just delay that graduation so you can stick around and see it. Other folks might consider graduate school. And for some of you, that's going to be the perfect timing. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're headed there. We're not 100% sure exactly on the layout for that facility, but we're thanks to some really concerted efforts by lots of different folks, able to include some climbing in the North Dome. So excited about that. Okay, based on your silence, I'm going to assume that you have no questions for me because I have done just such a stellar job of talking at you. And
I
so
think
I'm going to.
Lars has a question. Yeah, yeah, he does.
Dan, I don't know what you're trying to pull off here. Maybe I tried. I can't think of one.
I stumped Lars. I'll take it. Awesome. Well, hey, here's my last kind of pitch on this is I know that the first few weeks of the semester are chaotic. I know that the semester is probably feeling a little bit kind of like deja vu relative to the fall, right? Like here we are in this moment in time, this surreal kind of space where we're still dealing with COVID. There's all sorts of just like chaos in the world. And, there's going to be some discrete asks that I'm going to make of you to help us move forward as a program. And I believe that at the end of the day, we're going to be rebranding, right? We're going to be rebranding ourselves as the Phoenix Outdoor Program because we're going to rise from this like a phoenix. It's going to be good, right? Yeah, thanks, Lucho. I appreciate it. The just like head shake. But for real, right? I'm going to need your help. I'm going to be asking for your assistance in pulling off this yurt. I will tell you right now, when I told the Day of Giving folks, the Alumni Foundation, what our goal was, they did not say this, but their body language said that there's no way you're going to pull that off. They don't believe in us. They don't believe that we can actually raise $25,000 to buy a yurt. And I'm pretty darn convinced that if we all kind of put our collective effort into it, that we can actually do this. We can pull it off. And so I believe in us. I'm really pumped for where we're headed. I cannot tell you how excited I am not to be spending a huge chunk of my time, effort, and energy on student conduct and to dump that back into the program instead. So it's way more fun talking to y'all instead of talking to folks who get MIPs. Not saying, anyway, sometimes there's overlap, but fortunately there wasn't this fall.
Can we solicit donations from the Dean of Students office? Like if we just go like knock on Matt Karras's door, just like give us more funding to buy a yurt.
Matt's going to send out our ask to the parent email list that he has. And Matt has been, Matt Kairos, Dean Kairos, Dr. Kairos is a friend of the program and incredibly helpful. And I trust him when he helps kind of steer some of our philanthropy and fundraising efforts, because he, in the 10 years that he's been here, has built an endowment over at the foundation of more than $1 million, which is a testament to how good he is at getting money from people. And so, I fully, Lucho, I know you were joking a little bit about like knocking on his door for some dollars, but I mean, he's already given us a bunch for avalanche education, and he's one of our biggest advocates. So yeah, we're all about it. And if you got a rich uncle who's estranged, now is the time to make contact with them. Okay, that's what we need to do.
Yeah, Kayla, what's your question?
It's a fundraising idea. You know how like at Christmas people dress up like Santa and they ring the bells? Can we do that but dress up as like vegetables and or like other cool random things and go talk to people and ask for money?
Certainly, and I think what I want to do is I don't want to take time here, right? Talk kind of going through some of the ideas, but what I really want to do is I'm going to send out, like I said, an email following up this and say, hey, who's willing to be an ambassador, and then who's willing to be like a super ambassador? Who's willing to say like I'm going to pour a lot of my time, effort, and energy into, like making this happen, dressing up like a zucchini, and just like really soliciting hard. I think that's great ideas where we want to go, and yeah, exactly, Heather. Like we'll get the vegetable costumes out. So cool, y'all. I'm going to turn it over. I have one more piece of sharing, but I'm going to wait for the very end of our conversation to dive into that. So I'll turn it back to Christine, I think. Or maybe Dan, I don't remember.
Yeah, you definitely want to stick around and hear what Ty has to share at the end. It's great stuff. Loving the ideas I'm hearing. I really am digging the whole Phoenix analogy. I think we could pull off a really good Phoenix impersonation right now. But I'm not going to do that. I'd love to see it from you guys. And Ethan, to answer your question, an island is any piece of subcontinental land that is surrounded by water. Okay.
Okay, so that begs the question, if you have, a landmass, subcontinental landmass that breaches sea level multiple times, are those each considered islands?
Yes.
Well, that just feels like cheating, but that's just my business. That seems like seems a little far-fetched to me.
Take it up with the International Geography Club.
I will. I really will.
Sweet. Well, now that we have that cleared up, I would like to take a moment to talk to y'all about what the summer is going to look like, including expeditions and our trainings. So we wanted to get you this information as soon as possible. And feel free, if you've got questions as I'm going along, if you want clarification on anything, feel free to shout that out. Since I'm showing my screen, I can't really see the hand raise function. But yeah, just feel free to jump in and ask those questions. But yeah, we wanted to give you these dates just as soon as possible so that you can put these on your calendar. I'll be sending out, like Ty will be sending out another email following up with the Day of Giving stuff. I'll be sending out an email with all of these dates so that you have a hard copy of that. But we understand that you have commitments. You're looking at other jobs, other internships, whatever throughout the summer. And we want this out in your hands just as soon as possible. So the really exciting thing is that we are going ahead and planning to run expeditions like we tried to do last year. Oh, jeepers. Here we go. But it'll look a little bit different. So our tentative dates for expeditions will be August 6th through the 10th. That's a Friday to a Tuesday, I believe. But here's the kicker, is that we are thinking, and we have heard some things, that school may start on August 16th. Originally, it had been slated to start later on in the month, I think like the 30th or 31st. But now we're thinking that administration is going to bump that sooner, like they did last year. So we're trying to get out in front of that and plan accordingly. So that's why the expeditions are going to be slated so early. We are planning on only offering backpacking courses. and that is because our summer mantra is to simplify. We really want to make this happen, and we want to offer a really awesome program. And we also realize that things have changed pretty drastically in our world over the past year. And in order to kind of hedge our bets with vaccines, with all these other compounding factors, we just want to try and simplify. So that's why we're only offering one block, that August 6th through 10 date, and only offering one course style. So, yeah, I am very sad we aren't going to be going to the river, but we will in the future, I promise. So now that we have that date, we've got to work back a little ways and try and figure out how we're going to get there trainings wise. Some of my SAL folks have already gotten this date. So we're going to be offering another ACT woofer course with a staff offering. So over winter break, we had a few of our other ORP staff members join us on this ACT course. It's not going to be for credit for y'all. But we are offering it to you at a heavily discounted price of $325. It's the cheapest woofer you'll find anywhere. I think most of them range from the $800 to the $900 range. We're going to break it up into these two sections, so May 12th through the 14th, and then the 17th through the 18th. So this again will be a pretty heavily online course with some in-person options as well. More information for that will be coming out soon. Then we've got Raft Guide School. Again, we're going to do it in two parts. So June 1 through 3, and then 8 through 11. We are going to be really pushing for a lot of raft trips this summer. We're planning on doing a bunch of parent and family trips, which I'll get to in just a little bit. But we really want to offer a lot of stuff for families and students who might be coming to Bozeman to tour campus. And then for my SAL folks, we are going to be doing our backpacking training trip July 7th through the 13th. Not sure where we're going to go yet, but since it is in July, we will probably have a lot of great options here. Right in our own backyard, instead of having to go all the way down to Utah. Even though it's beautiful, it's great down there. It'd be nice to not spend 9 hours in a car. So we are going to do something locally here. Hopefully the snow will have gone away by then. So those are our dates for our SAL trip. We will be doing a trips training, which is everyone all together, July 24th through the 28th, and we're going to be covering everything you'll need to know about running these trips. And then we will be giving each partner pair, each trip leader co-pair, the option, or not the option, we're going to expect you to go out and scout your individual locations, and that'll happen July 30th through the 3rd. There might be some flexibility with that date, but we really want y'all to go out and explore the areas that you'll be taking students out in and get a good feel for that. So that'll happen. That, and then there'll be a day off, and then expeditions will kick off. Sweet. Any questions with trainings or expeditions before I go on?
So there isn't really much going on until late July.
Yes. Right? That we have on the books right now, but you offer a great segue. Thank you, Luke. So all orientations for new students will be online, but they are offering a 2 to 3 day in-person offering for anyone wanting to come and see the campus and meet students. So the orientations that will be happening on campus will be those 3 dates there at the bottom. And we are really trying hard to offer a lot of different activities, programs for these families and students who will be here in town. So our big one that we're really planning on is doing a bunch of rafting trips And they don't necessarily all have to happen with these 3 dates. We can offer them kind of anytime, and then also some day hikes and maybe some other programs. So there'll be plenty to do. In addition, the rental shop will also be open. Excuse me, and I think Ellie is going to talk about that in just a little bit. So we'll have lots to do throughout the entire summer. Yeah, that's all I've got. Does that answer your question, Luke?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions?
I have a question about so do we need the wilderness first aid as well as the wilderness first responder, or if we get the first responder, or sorry, the woofer, are we covered for the first aid?
Yeah, so our minimum expectation is the WUFA, the Wilderness First Aid, but you do get a pay bump with the woofer. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Dan and Ty.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So you can imagine you can work for us in the field with wilderness first aid. That's our baseline skill set or level. And then if you do wilderness first responder, it allows you to be paid a little bit more. It allows you to be a trip leader on some of our more remote trips. And I will point out, you don't need to have done wilderness first aid to do wilderness first responder. So you can just jump directly into the first responder. If you're all tentative about any of that, you can also just chat with us. You can chat with Katie or Ellie, they're both, or Paige, really good resources for knowing that stuff.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
I will say that taking a WUFA first is a really nice way to ease your way into it. The woofer is a lot of content, but having that kind of bridge might be kind of nice. Yeah, any other questions about our summer plans? Sweet. So I'll just end up with this. We really want to offer y'all meaningful employment throughout the summer, and I have a really good feeling that we will be able to do that. Not to give too much away from what Ellie was going to talk about, but we will be trying to be open 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, in the rental shop. So there'll be plenty of hours to be gained there. And then in addition to the parent and family trips, all of the trainings that we'll be having, and then expeditions at the very end, I think we'll have quite a lot going on. So if you are wondering about whether or not you need to go out and get another job, just keep that in mind, that we will have a lot of stuff to offer y'all over the entire semester. And I also ask that we just remain flexible with these dates. All of this stuff is tentative because we don't even have that final say from President Cruzado about when school is going to start. So all of this might change like it did last year. And we are also really paying close attention to vaccines. We want to be able to push a lot of this training towards the latter half of the summer, and that way hopefully more and more vaccines can come online, and that way we kind of hedge our bets a little bit better. And then at the end of the day, we're just trying to offer a lot of really awesome, meaningful programs to the MSU community. So those kind of 3 things are my main intentions for the summer. And yeah, I'm really, really excited. And we'll just keep you all updated with stuff as we find out. So yeah, any final questions before I turn this over to Ellie? Okay, well, Ellie, take it away.
Hello, everybody. I have much less fun stuff to talk about. It's not expeditions. But I just want to touch a little. Are we doing okay? Is everybody engaged? Do we need to do some jumping jacks, maybe? No. Okay. Well, I'll just keep talking. Okay. So for our availability, I just want to talk about how I, in the rental shop, need that submitted. And then I just want to talk a little bit about for South folks or folks who have not worked at the shop in a long time and need like a refresher on some things, our checkoff sheet, which is linked in the dispatch. So first of all, availability. So when you're entering that into when I work, I just need everybody's unavailable times for sure. So if you're not available on Sundays ever because you're working with BYEP or you want Sundays off, for example, please mark that as unavailable, as well as like the times you have class or absolutely cannot be at ORP. I will respect those. And if I have a question about anything, I will reach out to you directly, but I will not schedule you during those times. If you have times that you want to work, you can put your preferred times, but what I really, really need is people's unavailability in a way, because I don't want to schedule you when you have class or something going on. Are there any questions about that? Okay, cool. I just wanted to clarify that because it
I just have
changes.
a question if that's all right. In when I work, is it the same section when you're putting in availability that you can just block out days? Is it kind of the same process?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, oh, I don't think I know how to screen share. Do you want to show me how? Can I log into your when I work? Yeah. We're gonna log into Katie's when I work really quickly, so that we can screen share. How to do that? Super quick.
I've got mine pulled up too right now if you guys want me to do it.
That's okay. I think we're almost there. Thank you, though.
All right.
All right. Was that a discreet question? All right. Loading. Can you all see that? Yes. Okay, cool. So when you're in When I Work, you're going to go over to all of your When I Work should say Katie at the top. Just kidding. Go to My Availability, and then Katie has her unavailability in, which is really awesome. This is exactly what I need to schedule her in the rental shop. So say on the 16th, what is that, a Saturday? I want to just add a preference. And then you can select the date. Oops. I'm unavailable to work or I prefer to work. Again, unavailable to work is what I really need. Prefer to work, I will strive to get you shifts at that time. If you're unavailable all day, select the all day button and it blocks out this time selection. If you're just unavailable from 9 to 5 p.m., etc., you can make that repeat every week, every day of the week or specific days. And then when it ends is I need your availability through the semester. So I'm expecting to have that in there. And one more thing with this semester, can I stop sharing? How do I do this? Oh, here we go. These first few weeks are kind of tentative, so if you have feedback for me on how it's going in the shop, if it's super busy or too slow at times, let me know, because we can adjust that. Or if you want more hours or don't want as many hours, we can move that around. Cool? Okay. Any questions on that? If you have questions, you can always reach out to me individually as well via email. My email is in the dispatch. And then the second thing I just wanted to touch on is shop operations checkoff sheet. So that's linked in the dispatch. Please read the dispatch and the little blurb on that. Basically, I just need people to be checked off so that they can work in the shop on their own and like feel confident answering the phone and sending out orders and on Rentmaster and things like that. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Christine, do you have anything to add as far as availability? Did you want me to mention something about availability for summer? Okay. Cool. Thanks, y'all.
Sweet. Well, I
I
think
have a quick question.
go for it.
So for the checklist, do you want us to fill that out ourselves and then submit that to you, or should we fill it out with you or with Christine or with somebody?
Yeah, good question. So you can have anyone who is a returning staff, as in not a cell member, this year who has been working in the rental shop, check you off on that. So it's basically just like knows how to create an order on Rentmaster, knows how to return gear, knows how to participate in or open up the opening checklist and the closing checklist. So yeah, you can have anyone who you're working with, and I've paired SAL folks with returning staff to make that a little bit more smooth. So you can ask that person that you're working with to check you off.
Thank you.
Sweet. Any other questions for Ellie or I with the shop? Sweet. Hearing none, I will turn the mic over to Dan.
Hi, y'all. So a couple of quick updates. And so the theme for this whole year, right, is to simplify. And we've taken a pretty big step back in some of our day trips and classes, as you, I'm sure, have noticed. But we've really doubled down on our on-campus clinics and our ACT classes. So just want to give everybody an update on what's kind of going on around you as part of the program. We have 9 different credits worth of ACT classes being offered this spring. And many of your peers here tonight are helping to instruct those this semester. So we have, we just finished a snowmaster course for Wilderness First Responder. You heard that, and an avalanche course as well. Katie was a student in that. You can ask her about her experience. We have 4 more credits of avalanche courses coming up over the next few weeks. And then we're getting into, we have a bunch of climbing programming while we still have a climbing wall. We wanted to take advantage of that this spring. So we have 2 credits of bouldering and 2 credits of intermediate rock climbing. And then finally, we have a swiftwater rescue course. And that will be a class that will be run similar to Woofer, in that there'll be ACT students as well as any staff that are interested taking the same kind of online content. And then staff will have an opportunity to do some separate field days so that we have smaller groups on those field outings. So be together for the online stuff and then separate for the field sessions. In addition to that, we have a lot of clinics going on. And so we have cross-country ski clinics with Kylish and Ari. We've got avalanche rescue clinics with Kayla and Katie. We have climbing wall clinics with Mia and Clara. And we're trying a new format where we're doing these co-manager positions. And those people are going to be your point people for all those different program areas. And then I think Luke is going to be the ice skating king this year when the Office of Student Engagement rolls out an ice skating rink, if it ever turns back to winter, towards the end of this month, and teaching some ice skating lessons to beginner skaters. So essentially, we've taken a whole diversity of programs that we're trying to do a ton of different things throughout the semester. And we're just really trying to nail this limited amount of programming, right? We want to hit these programs out of the park. All those clinics are totally free to students, and a lot of them are providing also free access to rentals. And all of that funding has been pieced together through a whole bunch of different avenues, including Dean Kairos and the Office of Student Engagement. So essentially, we're like doubling down on this stuff. So spread the word. That is our trips and clinics and classes for the semester. So make sure you know about it and you can talk it up and participate and learn yourself. And then, like Christine was saying, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff over the summer to keep y'all busy and learning and engaged. And so we're scrapping some of our like the rock instructor school. We're not going to have a formal rock instructor school this year because our climbing wall is going to be out of commission. But if people are excited to learn and create more of an individualized path, and especially if you're around the summer, there'll be really great opportunities for that. And there'll be opportunities to continue teaching summer ACT classes as well. So we're gonna pretty soon start asking for a tentative idea of whether folks are around for the summer, because whether I schedule one class over the summer or 6 is going to depend on who wants to be around and who wants to teach for some of those classes. So by no means are we expecting you to know your full schedule and your full life right now, but we'll start looking for what your tentative ideas of your plan is. And then lastly, I want to just hit on two last things. One thing is we're going to be starting a search for up to two graduate assistants. So some of you all met Jules this fall. We have the potential to hire up to 2 grad students this year to help teach these ACT classes. And if anybody is interested kind of for professional development or just based on you want to know who that person is, you can serve on that hiring committee. And I'll put that info out in the next dispatch as well. But especially if you were looking at applying to graduate school down the line, it could be a really cool professional development opportunity to look over resumes and interview those people to try and find us a good match. And then lastly, if there is something that you're really interested in providing as a trip or a clinic that you think is able to be managed during the COVID times and you want to put it together, please reach out. Right now, everything is based on where are people excited about, or what are people excited about doing, right? So if you're really excited about doing a watercolor class on campus, we have watercolors and art materials, and we could easily put that together. We're not going to put it on the calendar until somebody expresses interest and wants to take it from start to finish. All right. So if you've got something you're excited about and it's easy to do with COVID protocols in place, just let me know and we'll get it going. Thanks, y'all. Any questions on any of that?
Dan, I do have a question this time.
Nice, Lars.
You mentioned the Swiftwater course coming up here this spring for staff, and I was curious when we're eligible to sign up and what the dates are for the staff weekend trip.
I will put that in the next dispatch slice.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Yeah, quick question over here too. Will there be any opportunity for people who need their WFA research in terms of like a WFA or maybe part of a WFA?
I'll turn that over to Ty.
Yeah, so Ellie, if you did your woofer with solo with us, the woofer class that we're running for the SAL crew, we could certainly accommodate a research there. If it's outside of that, and I'm speaking broadly, right? I know you did yours with us, but if you're doing a woofer research with a different entity or organization, we would need to just chat about how to pull that off best. But certainly able to help facilitate that. I think if you have more questions about Wolfram Research, you're welcome to just shoot me a note and we can connect.
Thanks.
Real quick, is it 3 years? Okay.
But only 2 for CPR. Sick.
Cool. Okay, last thing I'll turn it back over to Ty to really take us home is I think we've lost a little bit of the community that we're like so proud of, right, for the outdoor recreation program, just based on separation. And so it's absolutely my goal this semester to get that back at any at any cost. So as you are going out on adventures, the best tool that we have right now is this Facebook group. And then I know you all have a message between staff. If there are better ways that we can get that word out to have fun adventures together in the out of doors, please let me know and let's get creative with that. We've got like good opportunities to go skiing on this little groomed loop behind our building, or go skiing at Bridge of Bold together. And I know that I want to get out with you all and get to know you a little bit better and play and have fun. So let's figure out good ways to do that. Until then, I'm going to just keep posting on this Facebook group, and I'll be in the dark ages using Facebook over here.
Back in 1918 when he invented Facebook and ended the First World War. So, yeah. Okay, I think it's my opportunity to take our conversation home. I want to be respectful and mindful of your all's time. This is the end of the "we expect you to be here, we want to talk to you, here's the important information" part of the meeting. We're now going to delve firmly into the portion of the meeting where I share a personal experience that has recently occurred for me and some of my learnings and growth and development from it. So you are no longer obligated to be here, right? You can take off. I'm going to tell you about an experience that I had on Friday. Some of you have heard this experience. Undoubtedly, the news is starting to spread a little bit. Maybe, maybe not. Can you all see my screen? Yeah, okay, good. All right. So Friday of this last week, I had just finished teaching woofer on that prior Thursday. And yes, a moose once bit my sister is a line from Monty Python's The Holy Grail. It's in the opening credits, in case you were wondering. Friday I came into the office. I had lots to do. I still have lots to do. I'm way behind on some of my emails. I spent the whole day staring at a computer, and I think at around 3:45, I finally was like, I'm going to go for a run. Those of you who know me well know that I am addicted to running. I need running in my life. It is the thing that keeps me sane. So I decided that I would go for a run up at Triple Tree. How many folks have been up Triple Tree as a trail? Yeah, it's a lovely trail. It's one of my favorites. I call it my bread and butter. I think I've used the statistic on Strava, another tool I am addicted to, and I've run the Triple Tree loop at least 50 times. It's where I go, right? I had a workout scheduled. I needed to do some hill repeats. On my hill repeat, while I was going up there, I ran into some folks. You know what they told me? They're like, hey, yo, there's a moose up at the top. You know what my response was? Okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know. I've run into moose before. I'm not that worried about it. I'm sure it'll be fine. So this is my run. This is a screenshot from my travels that day. This is the GPS track to and from the car, the lower lot. If you get a little closer right here, up at the top, you can kind of see where I did some like repeats on the hill. This is the top, the bench at Triple Tree. You know what I'm talking about? That lovely bench where you could sit. This is the view from the top at that moment. The sun was going down. Exactly. It was peaceful. It was lovely. You know, the tobacco roots were in nice relief. The valley. This is one of my favorite places. Also, there was no moose up there from what I could see. At that moment in time, I got to the top. I had been really careful, right? I was like, okay, hey, they told me there's a moose. I'm going to call my dog back. I'm going to take the headphones out. I'm going to kind of make some noise, pay attention. No moose. All right. So, as one does, right, I decided not to continue down the trail that I had just come up because that's boring. That's not fun. Right, I decided I'm going to go down the backside of this Triple Tree. I'm going to go down the switchbacks, the fun running part. Snowy underfoot, by the way, right? Probably 30 degrees. I am dressed in light layers because I knew I was going to be working fairly hard, right? I had tights on and I had like a long sleeve and gloves and a sweet bro hat, flat brimmed hat because that's just how I roll, right? When I'm running. I'm a different person when I run, way cooler. At least Kylish laughed at that. That's good. All right. Okay. This right here is where I stopped to take that picture. This right here, I stopped to take a pee. That's what I went off the trail a little bit there, right? Those of you who have been up Triple Tree, you know, as you're coming down this, the trees start to come up, right? There's a little more overgrowth. It curves to the right. And then there's this kind of steep switchback. I came up on that switchback and my dog stopped real suddenly. And I was like, Beetle, what are you doing? And then I looked up and I saw the moose. So the moose had not left. The moose, in fact, was still there. The moose was 20 feet from me at the corner of the switchback on the trail. And as you can see from my Strava track, I made a valiant attempt to escape the moose. I ran up the hill and then I slipped and fell. And then the moose trampled me. I am not kidding. I got run over by a moose on Triple Tree on Friday. Yeah, I'm very excited to be alive, is what I will tell you. The moose exhibited pretty moose-like behavior. It ran at me. It did not hesitate. The handful of bear encounters I've had, they've always kind of paused and looked. The moose did not pause, look, and go, what's that? Oh, let me like bluff charge you, or let me kind of like, make myself big or weird or whatever. This moose just full on saw me and ran me over. That was its reaction to a human in its path. As I was running from it, screaming the F word, calling my dog back, I'm sure I sounded like a crazy person being murdered on the top of that hill. I fell down in the snow. And so this moose is bearing down on me. I have fallen down. I'm on my back. And so I roll, like I instinctively put my arms and legs up in front of my body, kind of like fetal position wise. And the moose slaps me with its front paw, hooves, slap, maim, whatever you want to use verb wise. And it nailed me in the right shin and the left upper thigh, borderline buttocks area. So I have a really gnarly bruise on my upper thigh. It's pretty fun. I have a nice cut on my lower leg. And we'll talk about outcomes here in just a minute. Okay. I found this moose meme. I thought it was worth sharing. It's not really that amusing. It's terrifying, and I'm grateful to be alive, but I'm also laughing about it because that's the only coping tool I have. Some things to think about, right? So I pop up after the moose has run over me, and I look over my shoulder at it, and it's looking over its shoulder at me. This is a female moose, or at least it did not have antlers. And I didn't really take time to discern its intent at that point. It had already run me over, and so I booked it downhill. I ran downhill about as fast as I possibly could, as you might imagine, swearing most of that time. And then as I'm running, I'm doing this. I'm literally like palpating my head. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it didn't hit me in the head. There's no blood on my hands. I'm not feeling any pain in my chest. I'm able to run, right? I have no seemingly life-threatening injuries from this, right? We think airway, breathing, circulation. Those are our big three. Those are the things that are going to kill you in the next 5 minutes. So I'm like, okay, cool. I seemingly don't have any life threats. I know that my legs are hurting a little bit because it kicked me in the legs, but I also can't feel any of it because of all the adrenaline. And so then I start immediately thinking to myself, okay, am I going to be able to self-extricate, or do I need to call someone for help? The good news is that Triple Tree has good cell phone coverage. And then I also, and this is just like a good takeaway from like the big long-term perspective is, I immediately thought, like, if I were to just like have gotten, mauled by this moose and not been able to pop up and run away, would someone know to come look for me up here? Right. And I had the good fortune, I always tell my wife where I'm headed, what I'm going to do, my rough route of travel, and when to expect me back. So I'm pretty sure at some point she would miss me, or at least be frustrated enough that our children were screaming and I wasn't there to help, that she would at least initiate that search. There were also several other people on the trail. And then, I made the determination. I paused about, 200 meters, 300 meters down the trail when I felt like I was not going to be run over by the moose again, and did a self-assessment of my legs to make sure that they weren't going to bleed so much that I was going to die. And I decided, you know what? I am remarkably sound. I am going to run out to the car because I need to go get cleaned up and probably take care of these wounds, and maybe I'm good to go. Ran back to the car. Got in the car. I disobeyed one of my cardinal rules from the woofer. If you've heard me teach woofer, you've heard me say get down to skin level and check out the site of the injury. I knew that I should do that and chose not to because I also didn't want to go directly to the ER, and I wasn't bleeding that badly. And I thought, if I unzip these pants and I look at what's going on down there and it's gnarly, I'm going to have to just go to the ER. But if I go home first, I can take a shower and eat some food and put on comfortable clothing before I go to the ER if that's what needs to happen. Got home, unzipped the pants, looked at the lower leg injury. It was very readily apparent that I needed stitches. I have a nice laceration. I had some muscle tissue poking out of the laceration that would actually move when I moved my toes. It was kind of fun. And upon reflection, went to the ER, got stitched up, and have to be kind of no running for a little while, no skiing for a little while for me until the stitches come out. Some reflections. So I did not heed the warnings of others, right? Other people told me, hey, there's a moose up there. And I said, okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know. And I think in retrospect, I don't know that I would. I think in the future, I won't go where the people are telling me there's a moose. I'm now very afraid of moose, mice, whatever they are. I'm not keen to encounter another moose. It was honestly one of now 2 moments in my life where I said to myself, oh shit, this might be it. The other one was when I wrecked a car when I was 20 at like 60 miles an hour. So if that's any sort of kind of comparison, there was that brief moment where everything was moving really slowly and I had that kind of like moment. So yeah, I think in the future I would recommend just turn around and go back down. It's not worth it, right? When we think about wildlife, we think about their kind of what they're looking to do, right? They don't want to tangle with humans. Mostly they want to to avoid humans. Right? This moose did not want to run me over. I didn't give it any choice. I got into its personal bubble before it had any warning that I was coming. So I was running quiet. I brought another antagonist with me, and Beetle, my running dog. She did not give me any warning. Damn dog. And ultimately, at the end of the day, right, like I put myself in that situation. This is not the moose's fault. This is my fault for not listening to the warnings of others. I had my headphones out when I got to the top of the hill, but as soon as I couldn't see that moose, I put my headphones back in. I wasn't even listening to something good, right? I was listening to some dumb NBA podcast. I love the NBA. I love listening about basketball for some silly reason, right? Remarkably, my headphones did not fall out. So the entire attack for me was narrated by this NBA podcaster talking about just like ridiculous crap, which was I'm like running down the hill, screaming F the F bomb, like palpating my skull. And they're like, yeah, I mean, Chris LeVert had a pretty great game last night, and blah, 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 And if you get Chris LeVert reference, you're also an NBA nerd. Anybody? No? Okay, good. That's good for you. Ball sports. Okay, so things I can do better, right? Like no headphones, keep the dog close, put a bell on the dog, talk, clap, go with a partner. These are all like pieces of learning that I have and takeaways. That's the informative part. I do have photos, of course, of the injury and the stitches. But I put them at the end so that I could give you hey, these include bloody images of my leg and what it looks like. So if you're not into seeing blood and injuries, now is a great time to ask some questions. We'll do Q&A right now, and then we'll move into the bloody, gory photos after that, and you can just peace out, or you can walk away and just listen to the Q&A. Are there any questions for me?
Ty.
Yes.
Have you heard the Christmas jingle? Grandma got run over by a reindeer?
Of course I have. Yeah. Are you thinking about repurposing that? Like my boss got run over by a moose deer?
I was contemplating it. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm laughing. It's pretty
Okay,
good.
that's good. I'm sorry.
It was
I'm
running
really glad that you're okay.
Yeah, me too, for sure. I mean, I think, however you need to meme or make fun of this, if at the end of the day you walk away going to yourself, like, I'm not going to tangle with moose, and I'm going to make sure that when I'm out and about in Bozeman, because I mean, Triple Tree is very much, I feel like an urban trail, right? There are houses all over the place there, good cell phone coverage. That you, as a group that goes out and gets after it, you're being thoughtful about how you recreate. That's my long-term goal with this. We could certainly turn it into a wildlife learning song. Other questions for me before we get into the gory photos?
I will say that sourdough is another spot where there are a lot of moose.
Mhm. Yeah, it turns out you think about the north or the south side, the Gallatin front there. That connects to Yellowstone, right? You can go, you can run from Sourdough all the way into Yellowstone National Park, and so without crossing a road to do that, right? Like you can pull it off, and so that means that there is wildlife connected into there. I've had a moose encounter now. I've had a cougar encounter on the Bangtail. I've had a couple of black bear encounter in Bridgers. So just remember, we're in the Northern Rockies. We are not the top of the food chain. There are large mammals out there that actively look at you and think to themselves, I could eat that, or I'm going to run it over to figure out that it's not a threat, or if it is, I'm going to run it over. Right? That's the moose reaction. So yeah, give moose lots of space. Give elk and deer space. Yeah. Other questions for me? You
Yeah, I have
really
a
just
question.
yeah, go for it.
So when you're running at Triple Tree or anywhere, less urban, do you usually run with bear spray?
I typically do. Often not in this time of year, right? So I would say typically I'm running with bear spray in kind of the shoulder seasons and the summer. And in the winter, when most of our bears are hibernating, I feel a lot more comfortable. I will also say the question of bear spray has come up on this incident, and from my perspective, unless I'd had that bear spray in hand with probably the safety off, maybe just in hand, I would not have had time to deploy it if it had been in even a vest pocket as a runner. Typically as a runner, if I'm going further afield than Triple Tree is kind of my like urban line, and I need to reconsider that. I'm almost always carrying an extra layer, a very tiny first aid kit that really is mostly bleeding control. And the ability to wrap an ankle if I twist it. Usually have an emergency communication device, a small amount of food, almost always have a lighter and a headlamp. But then I also have my like urban trails kit, which is what I'm wearing, right? It's very minimal. And so had I been seriously injured, I would have been really cold really fast. I was not wearing much clothing. The sun was going down. And I would have had very little means to actually take care of myself. And so it's certainly, especially given the work that I do, we all do, it's sobering to think about the outcome in terms of it could have been significantly worse for me, and I'm really thankful that it wasn't. So, what else do you want to know?
Quick question for kind of everyone actually. Is spray like something like if you have bear spray and encounter a moose, is that something you want to go to, or is it better to just like not even consider that and just like get away?
Yeah, I think first defense for all wildlife is the space, right? Like give them as much space as you can. I'm actively reaching out to some moose experts. There's a few folks that research moose on campus, and then Montana Fish and Wildlife, and that's one of my questions is like, okay, so we know bear spray is effective at bears. I'm assuming I know it's effective on dogs, right? Like when the dog comes running up to bite me, and I'm guessing cats. But what's its effect on a moose? Like, is it just going to upset that moose more, and now Bullwinkle's going to run me over again, or is it going to actually be a good deterrent? And I don't know the answer to that. And then looking at it, part of the reason I'm reaching out to those experts is that there's just not a lot of information out there about avoiding and dealing with moose confrontations, especially given the frequency. There's a ton more moose out there than there are bears, and they're known. I knew this, right? That's what's upsetting to me is I know that they're cranky sons of guns. Who's sticking a moose print in my face? Yeah, I'm thinking about getting a moose tattoo, just like hoof prints on my back. Got run over by a moose. Yeah, Molly.
When I went to Canada when I was 13, I discovered a brand called Cool as a Moose. And I was actually just looking to get you a sticker. It's
Sick.
Cool as a Moose. So it's funny that you mentioned getting a tattoo.
I'm not going to get a tattoo. Let's be real.
No, I know. Yeah.
Face tattoo. Okay. I'm going to move into the graphic images. Yeah, go for it. I have one more.
Yeah, I was going to say in response to the general question about bear spray and larger animals is I know a handful of folks coming from Helena that are hunters, and so they take bear spray pretty much every time they go out and hoping that they would only have to use it for a bear. But I know a few folks who carry it mainly because they take their kids out or their cousins out who are pretty small, and off chance if any animal kind of goes to trample you, like what happened with Ty, I mean, it could hurt the kid a lot more. So they use that as kind of a line of defense because it's faster than trying to shoulder a gun and then try it that way.
Oh yeah. Had I had a holstered gun, there's no way I could have deployed that either, right? And again, I was 20 feet from Mrs. Moose when I noticed her, and part of that is as a runner, I'm looking down 10 feet in front of me at the trail. I'm not looking up and around, right? And I noticed the moose because my dog stopped. She hit the brakes real hard and fast, and I was like, "What's going on, Beetle?" And then I looked up and I was like, "Oh, that's what's going on." Shit. And then I tried to run away, and it did not work.
It's kind of ironic because I actually had the moose bear spray discussion with a Yellowstone National Park employee who's lived in the park for 40 years. I had that conversation like 2 months ago, and it's purely anecdotal, so take it with a grain of salt. But his assessment was that he's seen bull elk charge straight through bear spray. And so his assessment is that it probably wouldn't do much for a moose, considering that like anatomically moose are pretty similar to just like larger elk.
Yeah.
That was his assessment of it. But again, anecdotal.
Yeah. Very nice.
So, not that this is super helpful either, but I was just gonna say, for those of you that don't know, a few years ago, I actually got chased by some wolves. Kind of crazy story too. If you want to ask me about it, you can. But I also got, I think it was January or February. And so my only thought on carrying bear spray, I've also been doing some of the clinics with Daniel, who is a really cool person. But not only can bears be outside in winter quite often, more than we might expect, but also I would say, I'm not sure about moose and elk, but I would imagine from what I've heard, and I can ask her more, it might be kind of effective on cougars and if you ever get the unlucky incident to be chased by wolves. So yeah, just keep it in mind.
And people, let's be real. I'm still way more freaked out about people on the trail and their dogs than I am about moose or other animals. So, and you can probably hear my children screaming in the background. We're approaching bedtime. So I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna show the images of my leg as it's injured. So this is your trigger warning right now. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Left photo is in the tight, and when I got home, it's my foot in the sink. This is before I've uncovered. I just was like, yeah, I'm gonna document this for posterity. That's where we're going. Right image is at the ER, you can see some of my tibialis anterior. That is the toe raising muscle poking out there. That's after showering and having kind of self irrigated and cleaned that thing out, right? I'm gonna make my doctor's life as easy as I can. Questions so far? Feeling good? All right, post stitches, stitched up pretty nicely. Photos on the left, got a bunch of antibiotic ointment on there. Photo on the right is just so you can get an idea of what it's done to my right ankle. So I'm wearing compression socks pretty much all the time right now. I've got an ACE wrap on. The Burt's Bees, the chapstick that you see there, that indicates the end of the ACE wrap on my leg. So the ACE wrap doesn't go any further down my leg than that. And you can see the noticeable swelling of my right ankle. And so that's just like fluid that is just like how traumatized my right leg is. Honestly, my leg feels pretty good. Both my legs feel good. My back hurts real bad right now because I got crunched. That's my biggest complaint. Did I see there was a hand raise, a question? What do we got? Is that unintentional? Okay, we're going to move on. So where we are today. So picture on the right, you can just get an idea of the swelling of the tissue itself, and then the fun colors that are starting to really blossom on the leg. So I'm just pumped to continue this photo documentary. I'm going to continue to take photos of my legs each day. I'm going to refine this presentation so I can use it for teaching Woofer. Thank you for your time, effort, and attention. listening to my story. This is therapy for me to talk about it. That's all I've got. Have a lovely evening. If you want to ask me a few more questions, I will stay for a few more minutes, but I need to go be a father to these children because they're yelling. Yeah, that's just them. That's the time of night it is, yelling.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Hopefully, we'll see you around in the shop. Have a great start to your semester. Bye.
Peace.
Thank you. Bye.